everybody. Welcome. I'm Ari Temkin. This is Showtime on Phantom. Happy Friday, everybody. Anything happened last night on Instagram Live? The funny thing is the David Irving video and the people who are like, ladies and gentlemen, you're Dallas Cowboys. Like, no, he was never going to be a part of this team and really hasn't been, I don't know, since the bye. Like, like the jokes about, here are the Cowboys. Everybody expected this to be the Cowboys. David Irving smoking some weed on Instagram Live. Justin Ward of the house. What up, Justin Ward? G. Garcia, Joe Tranchina, Bobby Morehouse, Chris Bennett, Michael Lafferty, Kerry Teagle, Cody Arnold, Chris Bennett. I already said you, Wayne Gibson. What up, everybody? All right, so the main story today is, so the Combine already happened, obviously, right? That's old news. And Jerry's comments on the bus at the Combine are old news. But there were some things that I kind of want to highlight that he said that I think are kind of interesting, especially specific to the DeMarcus Lawrence negotiations and especially specific to Jason Garrett's job. We'll get into that here coming up. Hit that share button if you have not yet already. Broadcasting live across multiple pages and platforms. No matter where you are watching or commenting, make sure to hit that share button. And also, post your comments. And we are back on YouTube Live, so shout out to Stevie Mac 23. Says, holy crap, Ari is live on YouTube again. Today's a good day. What's up, Ari? It's been a while, like months. What's going on with you, Stevie Mac? Joseph Candelaria is back in the house too on YouTube. What's up? Make sure to like our page, facebook.com/Watch Phantom, or go to YouTube and select Watch Phantom there, and like the page there. All right. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys Report, Dallas Cowboys America's team page, the Ari Temkin radio page, also pages that we are streaming on. So again, quickest way to have your comments heard is by going to our YouTube page, searching Watch Phantom on YouTube. Oh, look, there's David Irving holding up a joint on Instagram Live. That seems smart. All right, so as you can see, this is the 16-minute or so video of David Irving last night on Instagram Live. Waxing poetic, quitting the NFL officially, though I don't know that he had a choice. He wasn't going to be permitted to play in the NFL, so you can't really quit somewhere where they're not going to allow you to be. Because he misses drug tests because he can't pass them because, I mean, he went on Instagram Live and smoked, so, I mean, allegedly, right? Who knows? It might have been, I mean, it might have been oregano he was smoking. Who knows? Did look pretty good, though. I don't want to spend tons of time on Irving. I mean, because what's there to say? Like, yes, it's stupid that the NFL polices weed like they do. It's stupid that the NFL would prefer its players use opioids, which is the #1 killer of Americans in terms of drug use. However, it is a rule. It's established. This idea of he's taking a stance because of the ridiculousness of that, it just seems disingenuous to the reality of the situation. Given his standing, he has a choice. He could decide to, pass drug tests and play in the NFL, or, he could just instead choose to smoke pot over being in the NFL. He claims in this video, it was hard to watch, but he claims in this video that people just assume that if you're an NFL player, you make millions of dollars, and he hasn't made $1 million yet, and so that's why he's quitting, because it's not even worth the type of damage that he's doing to himself in terms of concussions. And so he's medicating himself instead of with opioids, with weed. I buy it, but sure. What I find so interesting about that is David Irving was actually due to make $2 million this year. So he's right. He never has made in any single contract $1 million up to this year when, had he played more games and tried to even start rehabbing his injury that he suffered during the bye week, he might have been able to earn the $1 million that he says he's never earned playing in the NFL. But I digress. This sucks from a standpoint of Irving is 6'7". He's got a 7'4" reach. He's the perfect Cowboys interior rusher, right? Like he's the perfect athletic guy that can rush the passer from the middle, and he's really productive. That's the saddest part about this is his sack per game ratio, which doesn't mean a ton. It's like top 5 in the NFL. So when you look at, like, he is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. The problem is he just doesn't play enough. He doesn't play in enough games that all of a sudden you see these sacks accumulate. But the amount of sacks that he accumulates on a per-game basis is up there with the best pass rushers in the NFL. And it sucks because the Cowboys right now are, and we'll get into this with some of the Jerry comments, but like they're in negotiations with DeMarcus Lawrence. They obviously, Randy Gregory is not on Instagram Live, but assuming doing the same thing that David Irving's doing, right? I mean, so you have basically your best pass rusher right now is in contract negotiations, and by the way, he has a torn labrum that he needs surgery on. And then the second piece to this is your second best pass rusher is smoking weed on Instagram, and your third best pass rusher isn't on Instagram, but he's smoking weed. So you're at this point, Taco Charlton, Tyrone Crawford, and Dorrance Armstrong. And Crawford's good, but they'd rather him be in the middle and not on the outside. And Armstrong probably has the greatest ceiling, and Taco Charlton is what Taco Charlton is, which is like you can't get better and improve if you don't want to. And that was the thing about him coming out of college. So that's like all of a sudden now missing on Taco Charlton looms so large because of who you chose him over at that position. And now you're paying for it because, 2 of your 3 best pass rushers chose weed over playing in the NFL. All right, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Showtime on Phantom. Hit that share button if you've not yet already. Post your comments. Gerard Towler says David Irving is a joke, wasted talent. I mean, sure, that's all there, but it's also like this dramatically impacts the Cowboys on the field because 2 of their best 3 pass rushers are not playing because they're smoking pot. And the other one has a torn labrum and isn't signed. It is unhappy. However, if this video upsets you, well then perhaps I can entice you with a funnier video that may make you feel a wee bit better.
I walked through this morning.
Big IG static.
Big IG, Big Joe. Big Joe.
For the lady.
Joe Looney's the best. Joe Looney is the best. There's nothing better than watching Joe Looney do anything to follow up watching David Irving spend 16 minutes basically flushing his NFL career down the toilet for weed. So that's cool. Like at least there's that. Looney, fantastic season. I've been saying all off season, he's an interior lineman, right? So he can play backup center as we saw this year. Came off a fantastic year. But he also, I think, should be competing with Connor Williams for that guard spot. And I also think maybe, their offensive line could use competition at different positions. They have all this versatility with Lyle Collins. He hasn't really been great. He's had 2 seasons now, Lyle Collins, where he was good at the start, horrible at the start, and then good at the back end. So you thought when he did it last year, it would lead to a better season this year, and he started off this year the same way last year. Now you could argue maybe that was a Paul Alexander thing, and that got fixed. But, why not let him compete at guard, let Connor Williams compete at tackle? Like, why not see where these guys fit better than just saying that's the position they're going to play and they're going to play it? Chris Richard came in and moved Byron Jones to safety. Do they need some sort of Chris Richard to come in and be like, what are we doing? Move this guy here, this guy there, and let's not rethink, let's not overthink this thing. So that's my Joe Looney thought. But he's great and he's funny and he's a genuine guy. He's a good dude. Other news is was about Alan Hearns. Alan Hearns had a pretty pedestrian year last year, basically taking up about $6 million of the salary cap. He was the big free agent signing for the Cowboys last offseason, if you all remember. They tried to sign Sammy Watkins. Thank God they didn't. But and I would have said that when they tried to sign him. Like, I never would have been interested in signing Sammy Watkins. I think he did like a $23 million contract. He's like, that guy has always underperformed relative to where people think he is. All the talent in the world always underperforms. Always. Always, always, always. Like weed. Like I'm totally okay with weed. It's just like you guys smoke in the NFL all the time and are like they started the program. Like if you get into the NFL's drug program, that's kind of on you. And because you know you're going to be tested at these certain times, and then if you miss those, like it's just like to start off this entire process of the drug program, you are told when you're going to be drug tested. So if you pass that drug test, then you can smoke as much as you want because you know the other times you're going to get tested. But as soon as you're in the program, then you get random drug tested. So you have to stay out of the program. You have to fail multiple drug tests to get in the program. The only time that's not the case is at the combine, the one that Randy Gregory failed. Had he passed that, he would have never been in the program. He would have had to fail multiple drug tests to even get in the program. And this is all like just a basic test for like, hey, don't smoke for 3 weeks, pass this drug test, and then smoke all you want because you'll know when you're going to get drug tested. 80% of the league probably smokes and gets away with it. Why? Because they're not in the program, and because of that, they know when they're going to get tested. So, I'm not the weed thing on Randy Gregory and David Irving is more about just the like you're kind of making the stance in a weird place because of how easy it is to fail drug tests, or rather to avoid failing drug tests in the NFL. All right, so as it pertains to Alan Hearns, shout out to everybody watching: Cliff Nelson, Anthony Garrett Peabody, Adam Waller, Joe Willman. I see you all on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page. Hit that share button. Cliff Nelson, there's no way anyone should get caught smoking weed at the combine or in the league. You're just not very smart if you get caught. I mean, again, you enter the league through the combine. A lot of guys, right? And if you're drafted and you didn't go to the combine, you'll get that initial drug test, but you'll know when it's coming. The combine, they know when it is. If you pass that drug test, you're good. You're good. Because then you get into training camp, and it's like, oh, yeah. By the way, I'm going to need clean piss in 3 weeks. Everybody, clean piss in 3 weeks. Okay, good? All right, excellent. Like, and even if you don't, you're still not in the program. You have to fail multiple tests to even get in there. So don't get the program. That's right, Daniel Meza. Okay, so, and by the way, if I'm not getting to your comments, I'm trying to engage as often as I am with the comments. Just be patient. It's really difficult to sort of have a train of thought and rant on certain things and then engage the comments, and then you kind of get off track. That's the issue. So I know like some people a couple of days ago were like, you're not reading my comments anymore. I'm sorry. I will try to get to every comment I can, but it's a better show if I intersperse different comments at different times because it screws up my train of thought. Alan Hearns, case in point, 16 games last year, 20 receptions, 295 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Played in 16 games. The offense was a mess. There's a lot of reasons for blame. The Cowboys picked up his option for this season today. That's the news. It shouldn't be upsetting, and here's the reason. They're bringing him in to compete, and hopefully they will bring in players that will be better than him so that he won't make the team, because they can cut him at any point between now and the start of the season. Alan Hearns. And if they do, they will have $1 million in dead money in the salary cap, and they'll save $5 million. Cowboys will save $5 million if they release him at any point between now and the start of the year. And it also doesn't. They can go out and spend that money and then cut him to make the contract. So it's not like it's going to stop them from going to spend that $5 million, right? So if he's on the roster when the season starts, he costs $6 million depending on how many games he plays. But that's what he'll count against the cap. $6 million. That's a lot of money for a guy that's got 295 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. I hope Alan Hearns isn't on the roster next year. I hope Alan Hearns is not on the roster next year. And if he is, it better be for good reason. I'm just not very optimistic that you're bringing back Austin and Hearns, and all of a sudden you've now dramatically improved the overall talent of your receiving core, which probably needs to be dramatically improved for this offense to dramatically improve its scoring output of 22nd in the NFL last year. Jim Weichel says offense will be the same this year. Nothing changes if nothing changes. The OC was only part of the problem. I think you're right. I think you're right. I don't know that you're right, but I think you're right. And Jerry, and this is kind of the whole point of today's show, some of the comments made by Jerry at the draft combine last week that I kind of didn't really spend enough time on last week after they happened, and so I kind of wanted to do that today. And Joseph Candelaria says, "Who's taking Cole's catches? Then put Hearns in the slot." I mean, that's what they've said. I my hope is that they have a better option there because I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not exactly sold on Allen Hearns. But the Cowboys seem to so vastly overrate the guys they have. And underrate like the potential of bringing in somebody else for that money. Like I hope they could find somebody better for $6 million. I don't have large expectations. I mean, it'd be $5 million because they cut him and they're going to lose $1 million, right? So he's going to count $6 million against the cap this year. I hope they can find somebody that can be better than what he would bring at that cap hit. That's all I'm saying. All right. Okay. So Jerry Jones has said a lot this offseason, and hit that share button if you have not yet already. The idea of going all in, right? And we heard it before, we heard it again. Like he's older. He said he's been this is his 30th combine. He's been to tons. He's not going to have many left, and he's very sort of forthright in his own mortality, which is bizarre and odd and real and bizarre and odd at the same time. It's just weird somebody's talking about that, like their own death. It's bizarre. Even if it is true, it's just bizarre. And then also how that impacts like long-term decisions for an organization, right? But I think a lot of Cowboys fans are excited about the potential of going all in. And on Jerry's bus, Jerry was asked about the Jason Garrett contract status. And basically, the idea of would it have been better off to just give him a contract than to let him go into this year hanging? And, he kind of just went on and on about, we love Jason and mutual respect and blah, 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 blah. And then, and this is, pay attention, this is 7 seconds. But he probably answered this question on why not give Jason Garrett an extension or why let him hang in this last year? What's the point of this? 7 seconds is all he needed to answer the question. He went on for minutes, but 7 seconds.
And we've got the kind of situation that I think our fans want.
And we've got the kind of situation that I think our fans want, meaning a situation where Jason Garrett's coaching for his job. I think our fans want that. Jerry, I'll help you out. Your fans want that. Like, overwhelmingly. Your fans don't even want him to be there now. So the idea that, he'll get him one more year, fans want that. It's like, fans want him gone. So, yeah, they do, and it's clear that that's a reason for why he's decided to go this route. But it's interesting because, so the question here is, Jerry says the Cowboys are going all in, but does he even know? Which is kind of an indictment on his power, right? So people will come into these streams and basically say things about Jerry can't do anything until he hires a GM, or this team's not going to do anything until Jerry hires a GM or somebody that knows football, right? And I always say, well, they have. Like, Steven's the GM, and Steven surrounds himself with Will McClay and people that know football. So they have, right? That's true. Well, here is a pretty good example of that being true.
Was it productive yesterday with Cantor?
And I have to set this up. This is Clarence Hill from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram asking him about the negotiations with DeMarcus Lawrence. And he says, was it productive yesterday with Cantor? He's referring to DeMarcus Lawrence's agent. Okay, so that's the question that Clarence Hill asks. And then here is everything that follows from Jerry.
Was it productive yesterday with Cantor?
I was with him briefly. Steven and Steven's staff and the guys he works with on it were with him at length.
I'm going to play the full thing, but let's just digest what we just heard him say, right? So again, the idea that Jerry needs to hire a GM or something. He was asked about how the negotiations between DeMarcus Lawrence and the Cowboys went. And his answer is, well, I visited with DeMarcus Lawrence and his agent briefly. However, Steven and his people did the bulk of the conversation. I don't want to be condescending to Jerry, but that says to me he wasn't even in the meetings. He's not even in the room. Jerry's the negotiator. He's not even in the room negotiating. Well, I had to sit over at the kids' table. That's Jerry saying that. And I love Jerry. I do. I love Jerry. But that's what he's saying, isn't it? How can you take it any other way?
Was it productive yesterday with Cantor?
I was with him briefly. Steven and Steven's staff and the guys he works with on it were with him at length. And certainly there was good communication. And the brief time I was with them, I had good communication too. So I think the word is good. There's really could be a misdefinition if you said the conversation was good. But it certainly was complete, and everybody got to say what they wanted to say. And on things like this, you really don't know how good they were until you get it done or make a different decision.
So there's a whole bunch of nothing in there, right? Like, we did talk. There was a meeting. I met with him briefly. And then Steven and the rest of his staff met with him and, went through the whole process of trying to hammer out a contract. And, there were things said. There was communication, is what he said. They did communicate in the same language. But that he wouldn't classify it as good. So things were said, good, bad, not good. But things were said, and then it was over, and I'll tell you how the negotiations go if we sign a contract. I just summarized exactly what Jerry just said, but the important part of what he said is the other people were part of the longer meeting, and I met with him briefly. Now, Jerry still obviously has power. It's literally his franchise, but diminishing significantly. And that's the part of this question here, is Jerry has maintained we're going all in. We're going all in. Time is running out for me. I don't have any combines left. It's time to go all in. That's what Jerry is saying. But he's not even negotiating with DeMarcus Lawrence's agent. So how does he even know, going all in probably starts with signing DeMarcus Lawrence, right? I'm not a football savant, but you're not going all in next year if DeMarcus Lawrence isn't on your team. And by the way, DeMarcus Lawrence needs shoulder surgery. And the shoulder surgery is going to take him out for 3 to 4 months. So March, April, May, June, time's running out. Right? So if we get to the end of March and then you're April, May, June, July, and then if you push this off 3 months, now you're talking about August, September, October. You're not going all in if you can't find an agreement with DeMarcus Lawrence. Hold on one second. And the way that this roster is set up, they obviously, they're not in position, as mentioned previously with the David Irving, Randy Gregory Weed thing. They're not in position to be taking significant risks for a team going all in with the only guy on the defense that makes a significant difference is a game wrecker. Not to diminish Jalen Smith or Leighton Vander Esch. That's good players, but they're not going all in if they don't start this offseason with DeMarcus Lawrence. The way that this offseason has started completely tells a different story to the reality, or to the story that Jerry is trying to tell us. And Jerry says, I'm not in the meetings with DeMarcus Lawrence, and he's telling us that they're going all in, and it's well, okay, they don't have They haven't had productive conversations seemingly with DeMarcus Lawrence. They have plenty of time to get that done. Free agency hasn't started. I understand that, but they're basically going status quo at this point. If they want to bring back Allen Hurns, it's going to cost them $6 million. They want to get the deal done with DeMarcus Lawrence, it's going to cost them a lot of money. Like the money that they have is running out. So the idea that they're going to go all in by bringing somebody outside the organization to help them in some capacity at offense and defense, like, are they going all in? Are they going all in if they bring the status quo back? And the only change is that they've removed Scott Linehan and they have now Kellen Moore basically organizing the offense. And then there's basically what Jerry said again about the coaching staff.
But this has been dramatically changed about how we're looking at our team. Just as our team is young, this staff is young. Very young. Now, in youth, you're not paying for experience here. Haven't been there, done that, which is valuable. I've foregone that for fresh, new ideas that the people implementing them don't know that they don't work. And that's what I want. And I want that incorporated in a sound way to put the team on the field and execute on whichever side of the ball we're on. I want that. And my job is to husband making sure at every step of the way, right now, and evaluating last year and looking how we're going to approach this year, OTAs all the way through, I'm going to witness changes. And that's the emphasis. And by the way, there's no pushback here. Jason's just as excited about this as you would want him to be. And we are going to and are approaching things in a way. When you ask me how, so specifically, are we going to do different things in the passing game? Answer is yes. Are we going to coordinate the running game with the passing game differently, better, hopefully for the better? But yes, we are. Are we going to have more flexibility? Are we going to be harder to guard? Yes, we will. We're going to attempt to. And that really is a theme. That's a big-time theme here, okay? Just because it's working, don't hesitate to change it.
There's a lot there. There's certainly some things that should make Cowboys fans excited. The part about, like, is Jason excited about this? You bet he is. He better be. He doesn't have a choice. But, I mean, this is what Jerry said all year, all offseason so far. Like, we are excited about the young coaching staff and the new ideas. I want the new ideas. And then the real important thing of what he's saying there, which is I want these guys. I want Kellen Moore to be so different that he's challenging all the things that Jason Garrett has always thought. That's what he's saying. Which is a really, really, really difficult thing for me to believe is true. Like, you're Jason Garrett, your job's in the line, and you're going to be comfortable with this guy questioning all the things that you've done over the course. I mean, I'd love it. That would be the best case scenario for the Cowboys and Cowboys fans, but I just don't buy that Jason Garrett's going to be like, yeah, my job's in the line, but I'm good, like, totally allowing this 29-year-old to come in here and change everything and do what he wants, and just I'll live with it. You know, like, I'm totally cool with that. Like, you're not. No way he is. So it's difficult to think. It's difficult to think that that sort of transformation will actually occur, and so Jerry keeps talking about the all-in. Cowboys are going all in. My time's running out. And it appears as though, and free agency hasn't started yet, but all the evidence that we have supports, like, the same off-season plan they've had, which is frugal spending. You know, they're not – free agency starts, and then teams make moves, and then the next day teams make moves, and then the market starts to kind of set itself. And, I mean, a week later the Cowboys start to make moves, right? Like, that's what they do. They play the bargain bin, and we thought maybe it would change this year. But all the evidence that we have suggests they're not going to, and then Jerry's like, we're going all in. And that's the only part of the evidence that maybe suggests they will be a little bit different in free agency this year. And granted, free agency hasn't started yet. So maybe I'm reacting to a whole bunch of nothing, but all the evidence we have right now before free agency started suggests they're not going to do much. They're not. And the question I have is that going all in? Is the same roster, virtually, with this guy calling the shots enough to be going all in? And I don't know. This is a team that won a bunch of games last year, went to the division round of the playoffs, put up a pretty good performance in the division round of the playoffs, as we watched yesterday. Probably ran too much in the second half. They ran 11 carries, 7 yards. I think that was 11 carries too much in the second half. Had Dak thrown the ball 11 times more, maybe they would have won. I don't know, but that's the point here. Maybe the status quo with a new coaching staff that Jerry assures us can do the things necessary to make Jason Garrett not be Jason Garrett. Is that enough to make this team going all in? Daniel Meza, again, do you trust Moore, Ari? I don't know that I trust the situation. I have faith that Moore can bring different, creative, flexible ideas. I don't have faith that Jason Garrett facing his own failures and firing is going to allow that. But maybe I'm reading it all wrong. Maybe he does happily accept this. Maybe he is willing to allow a 29-year-old to come in and kind of be like, hey, these things you're doing, you're not supposed to do them anymore. It's not good. No, we're not just going to line up and automatically win because we're going to out-execute. Because it's really difficult to consistently execute on 100% of your offensive plays. And if you are counting on out-executing on 100% of your plays, Patrick Prescott. All right, sounds like Carlos Hyde's going to get cut. You think he's a fit? As I've stated with Zeke, I don't. You can get a lot of production at that position for very little money. So on the hierarchy of where I'm spending money, especially if the Cowboys are if the Cowboys are signing Zeke, then they're paying him between $15 and $18 million a year, which is F. Mike Hahn says, already signing Coop, Dak, Byron Jones is essentially going all in. They could easily let them walk and start over. They're very talented and huge for this team. I don't think they're going to do anything with Byron or Amari this offseason. I could be wrong. Obviously they want to get DeMarcus done. I don't know what they're going to do if Zeke holds out. They don't want to get Zeke done, but if Zeke holds out, they may, which I wouldn't, but they may. And then instead I would draft a running back and protect myself against Zeke holding out and just be like, bye. Because, again, the running back, you can get the same production for way cheaper. You can't overspend for that position because you can't run the ball that much. You shouldn't run the ball that much. It makes no sense to run the ball that much. It's a math problem, and the math doesn't work out. However, and I guess, Mike, the answer to your question is yes, that the status quo roster-wise, based on winning the division and getting to the division round of the playoffs, like that, and that's not. It's not like this team was a 5-win team last year and being like, yeah, status quo is going all in. I mean, there's a reasonable argument to be made that going status quo is going all in, and the only change being this guy, which I can never figure out which side he's on because it's a green screen and it's like the opposite of me, and I can't ever remember to go opposite is basically it. I look at the screen and I'm like, I need to go that way, and I don't. Mike Hahn says this front office you have no faith in has drafted the most Pro Bowlers since like 25. They've drafted really well. You're saying Daryl has no faith in, or I don't? You're right. I mean, yes, they've drafted well. I don't know that they've drafted the most Pro Bowlers, but they've drafted as good as you can. I mean, they in the first round and even deeper. I mean, they've been tremendous. But that's kind of the point here is, can they go all in without bringing in, without fortifying some of the positions they've missed on? Corey Miller says, well, at least we got Witten back, right? That's an all-in-ish move. You think so? I don't know. I feel like if they hit camp with like the same roster, adding Witten, losing Beasley, like the things that we think are going to happen, right? Like they don't add anybody from outside or anybody notable. It's the same roster minus Beasley. You add Witten, and then whatever they draft. There's no way that's viewed as going all in. There's no way. That's not going all in. That's not going all in. It's not. It's not. I think you have to improve. I think you have to improve the wide receiving core at a bare minimum. Passing is more efficient than running. Cowboys were 22nd in scoring last year. You pass more than you run, you're going to score more points. They were 22nd in running. They were 22nd in points. They were, and that includes Cooper, right? Like they were 30th in scoring. They bring in Cooper. That brings them all the way from 30th to 22nd. But I don't think Cooper and Tavon Austin and Allen Hurns and Gallup and wherever they draft, that's a wide receiving core that inspires me. To think that they'd be better than, at best, average in terms of scoring offense. And remember, your receivers, your passing game is the most important component of a scoring offense. That's why running backs don't matter. Sean Moore says going all in isn't keeping Jason Garrett as your head coach. It's a fair point. Brandon Brunworth, what were they the last 8 games with Cooper? I think they were like 20th in those games specifically, 20th in the NFL, and rose from 30th to 22nd over the course of the season. Mike Hahn says, yeah, they don't need to change up the roster. Jeff Fisher almost killed Jared Goff's career. Now look at him with McVay. Well, Mike, did you didn't see what they did last offseason? What? That roster isn't even close to what it was when Jeff Fisher was there. What are you talking about? They just spent all this money on Ndamukong Suh and Marcus Peters and Akeem Talib. What are you talking about? Right. Everything's the same except they changed coaches, and now look at how much better he is. Except they also, went and spent, hundreds of millions of dollars on their defense. Other than that, everything's the same. Right? They went status quo, except for, Sue and Peters and Talib. Anthony Hollinsworth on the Dallas Cowboys report page says, sorry, Ari, I don't have faith in either one, Garrett or Moore. Brutal. I have faith in Moore. I think Moore, I've stated this multiple times. I think Moore could be a fine head coach, a fine offensive coordinator, perhaps even a fine head coach. There's no reason to think that he won't be. There's no reason to think that Kellen Moore doesn't have what it takes to be a good coach. How much we'll see of him truly depends on a lot of things this year, right? So if Jason kind of shuts the door and they run the same sort of offense, they're not flexible, run-oriented, running 50 to 60% of the time, right, then we'll know. But the reason that there should be some optimism is, remember, there were reports towards the end of the year that Kellen Moore was more involved and Jason Garrett was more involved in the game planning offensively. And their offense played better. Their offense scored more points. Cooper was there. Dak Prescott was more consistent. So now at the time, it was Jason Garrett's more involved in the offensive decision-making and play. That's true, right? Linehan was like, I will do what I want to do, and I'm going to do it, and it's going to be great. And it went from Linehan having all the power. They gave Scott Linehan all of the power. I don't know why they did, but they did. They said, you take it, you will design this the way you want with your personnel, with whatever you think, and we'll make this thing work. And they hired Paul Alexander because that was his guy, and they got rid of Dez because he was the first guy that wanted Dez gone, and he wanted this whole positionless receiver thing where everybody plays all over the formation. They don't have a number one, and their offense was a joke. It's one of the worst offenses in the NFL. They had to fire out Paul Alexander. They traded for Amari Cooper, and so it was like they gave Linehan all this power, and as their offense just looked so god awful, they had to shift it, and by the end of the year it was kind of like this. Garrett and Kellen Moore were here, and Scott Linehan was here. So we already have some evidence to suggest that Garrett is already listening to Kellen Moore, and that has resulted in success for this football team. Because we know that Garrett was more involved in the game planning towards the end of the year, and that I'm assuming now, because they've elevated Kellen Moore to offensive coordinator, that they didn't just pull that out of the thin air, that they decided that was kind of a test period. So when they say Jason Garrett designed the offense, what they mean is Jason Garrett and Kellen Moore designed the offense, which should make everybody optimistic because that was a much better offense. TJ Carpenter coming here with that unfounded slander, which is great. I mean, TJ still thinks like Joe Flacco's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. What does TJ Carpenter know about quarterbacks in the NFL? That's slander, TJ, and it's inaccurate. By the way, stay tuned for the TJ Carpenter Show coming up at 1 Central, 2 Eastern. And also, I would urge you, please, help us make this a better show. And TJ's too. Help us make TJ better. Take this survey. There's there should be a link in the description. If not, hopefully somebody can drop a link. I'm talking to TJ or Zach in the comments right now. But take our survey. Help us make this show, but more TJ show better. Because he needs it, we need it, kind of thing. But he needs it, so take the survey. So, but this show too, but less me and more him. Mike Hahn says, you just named all defense. So? Well, I mean, they also... okay. They got rid of Tavon Austin, who was like one of their top receivers into the Jeff Fisher era. I mean, sure, yeah. You can certainly improve your offense with a new coaching staff. But the point of this whole conversation was, can staying status quo make this team go all in? And that, so the Rams didn't just go all in because they changed their offensive philosophy or staff. They went all in by signing the players they did on defense. Plus, they also went and got Brandon Cooks. They didn't have Brandon Cooks. Yeah, Patrick Prescott. Cooks, Peters, Fowler. Yeah. They brought in offensive line help. It's not the same team. TJ with more slander. If you'd like, you can read TJ's slander, or you can, take our survey to improve TJ's show with his slander. Just kidding, but not. But damn. Wayne Gibson, the jury's still out on Kellen Moore, in my opinion. Well, yeah, I mean, because we haven't seen him coordinate anything. I'm just assuming that he helped to coordinate some of those final games and the game plans because the power from Linehan shifted considerably in the Jason Garrett favor. And I don't know that it was Jason Garrett so much as it was not Jason Garrett, a.k.a. Kellen Moore. Thank you, TJ, for posting the survey. So, yeah. Any other comments, questions, thoughts, concerns? Today's International Women's Day. Shout out. Woo woo. One day. You get 1 day, women. One. No more, no less. So again, just to kind of crystallize the most important thing that I hope you take away from this show today, Jerry Jones maintains that this team is going all in. I think we want to believe that they are. And free agency hasn't even started yet. So maybe they will. However, they're off to a good start in terms of going all in. Now, firing Scott Linehan, elevating Kellen Moore, I put that in the good start category, but the whole, not great negotiations with our best pass rusher pictured here, who also needs to have shoulder surgery, which would have him miss 3 to 4 months. That's not great. Plus, you've got, David Irving smoking pot on Instagram Live and Randy Gregory not on Instagram Live but smoking pot. So your three best pass rushers from last year aren't at this point in a position to be playing for the team next year. It's not exactly going all in. Losing Cole Beasley, adding Witten, Now Hearns, again, they've committed to nothing. They can cut him now. They can cut him basically between now and the start of the season, and they'd save $5 million and get that back. But it just doesn't inspire me to think that this team is actually going all in. And then based on what Jerry said about the negotiations with DeMarcus Lawrence, where, well, he wasn't exactly there for the negotiations. He kind of met with DeMarcus Lawrence and his agent for like a brief period, and then the other people, Steven and his people, went into the conversation. So it's like, does Jerry even know if they're going all in? Does Jerry even know the plan if he's not even in for the negotiations? Or maybe they, like Steven's like, this is what we think we're going to do. And then you can say and tell Jerry whatever you think you want to do, but who truly knows? Right? If Jerry's not in there, then he's not able to make decisions in the negotiation process in real time, because you can't really like elaborate on the things that should happen given all the different variables involved in negotiating. So I don't even know that Jerry knows if this team is going all in, yet he maintains the team is going all in. David Trujillo wants to know what I think the Cowboys' record will be in 2019. Can we wait for free agency to start? I have no idea what this team is going to look like. But without DeMarcus Lawrence signed, they're not going to win very many games. My prediction for the 2019 season is they win 3 games, because right now they have no DeMarcus Lawrence, and he needs to have surgery. So at this point, I'm assuming their best pass rushers are Taco Charlton, Dorrance Armstrong, and Tyrone Crawford. 1, because they haven't drafted, so hopefully they improve their pass rush through the draft, and 2, because DeMarcus Lawrence isn't signed yet. Hope that answers your question. All right. Thank you all. Happy International Women's Day again. Happy International Women's Day, TJ Carpenter. It was funny, you know it. Thank you to everybody, and we're great and happy and thrilled to be back in YouTube Live today. So shout out to Joseph Candelaria and Gucci Boy and Stevie Mack and Gerard Tyler for hanging out with us on YouTube. Make sure to go like our YouTube page, subscribe. We post lots of great videos there. Of course, Facebook.com/Watch Phantom. Jose Flores has 3 games. Shake my head, that's way too low. Dude, it's kind of a joke. There's still an entire offseason to go. I'm picking 3 games based on no free agent acquisitions, the loss of DeMarcus Lawrence, and no draft picks. That's what I'm predicting 3 wins on. How many games will this team win if they didn't have any draft picks this year and lost DeMarcus Lawrence and didn't have their 3 best pass rushers because of it? I can't assume they're going to sign him because they haven't, and he's saying he's not going to play on the franchise tag and he hasn't had surgery yet. Anyways, see you all Monday. Rick Schelker, Angelina Martinez, Sean Moore, Nathaniel Taylor, Ginny Yuri, Omar Bagat, Jose Flores, even you. I'm just kidding. Michael Lafferty, TJ Carpenter, and Mike Hahn, Adam Waller, Patrick Prescott, and everybody. Everybody. If I didn't name your name, my apologies. Hopefully, Kerry Teagle. Next time, I will. Other than that, TJ Carpenter's coming up next. Take the survey. Help us better produce content. Help us produce better content. How about that? Take the survey. You could win a $50 gift card to Amazon. That also helps. Other